Hello, friends, and welcome back to Artistically Black, the place for the continuing conversation of the expansiveness of the Black community, the love and labors of art, and the connection between the two. I am your host, Dannielle Hutchinson, and I'm so excited for you to join us this month for our episode. I am thrilled about this guest that we have on today. He is a dancer, director, actor, teaching artist, and architect, and an adventure theater family member. So please welcome Mr. Tony. Tony. How are you, Mr. Tony Thomas?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm delighted to have you on this episode of Artistically Black. You and I have known each other for many years now, and yes. I'm excited for this conversation. I'm excited about this show. So for those who don't know, the great, the illustrious, the multifaceted Tony Thomas, tell us who you are. Tell us what you do.
Gosh, where do I begin? Tony Thomas.
At the beginning. It's a wonderful place to start.
I know, it's great. I am a director, a choreographer, and an architect. That's pretty much where I landed in my career. Grew up in the business. Both parents were in the industry. Started acting, dancing, singing at a young age, watching my mom do it. Grew up watching Fame and all the dance movies of the 80s, Electric Boogaloo and Beat Street and all that, and really found something to connect with as a child and carried that through to where I am right now with Adventure Theater. And, right now, currently with Adventure Theater, I'm happy to be the conservatory manager, artistic supervisor for the pre-professional program, as well as head of dance.
Awesome.
All under you.
Well, we'll get back to that in a second. So you talked about how you have grown up in the industry and you've grown up in the business. How where have you studied? Where are your most favorite places that you have gotten your training?
Initially, it was one of those sort of organic things. You're born into the business. Mommy did it, daddy did it. So I'm blessed to say some of the stuff was in my blood. But focusing on those skills and understanding and honing in on it. My first agent manager was good old Linda Townsend of DMV area. If any youngsters grew up here, we all may have been a client of hers and took her fabulous introductory classes, teaching you to audition and present yourself and so forth. I've had the opportunity dance-wise to do the Dance Theater of Harlem residencies, Ailey program. Some of my mentors and dance teachers are from there. I was a graduate of Suitland Performing Arts High School, where I was a musical theater major. And during that time is when I had an active career as a youngster in the business. So things kind of just happened because I was around it. So it was a little natural instinct and organic. I wanted to go to school to perform and study the arts, but my family said, well, you grew up in the business, so you need to pick something else. So growing up, I always had a sketchbook. So I just decided something artistic would do. And in the back of my mind, I knew that I wanted to explore architecture, but it had to kind of gradually build up. The initial thought from my grandfather was, you're going to GW and you're going to be a doctor in the family. So I did that, but they let me minor in dance. So I had a presidential art scholarship. While I'm at GW, I'm like, this isn't feeling right. I get a call to audition for Debbie's show with the Kennedy Center, Debbie Allen. So I go and do that. That reassures me that your heart really should be doing something else. So then I decided to change my major to advertising and marketing, did that for a little bit, then changed from that, architecture, and the rest is kind of history to where I am right now. Yeah.
Awesome. So do you remember what your first stage production was?
Yes, I booked Winnie the Pooh at the Kennedy Center. I played Christopher Robin. I was one of 3 Christopher Robins, and nicely identified in terms of considering EDI back in that time. I mean, I may have been 5th, 6th grade maybe, and we had one guy that was from Russia, one that was actually from Africa, and then me. So, we all kind of played a different face and an identity for children to relate to when they saw Christopher Robin. So that experience will always be with me. That first production, that first process, that first getting into a rehearsal room and seeing the professional way of how you put together a show and the expectations of children to adults. There was no difference in the room. You know what I mean? You're here to work, you're here to work. But that will always stick with me. That just broke the ice. You know what I mean? No matter what dance concerts I had done or any singing concerts, but that particular acting moment made sense of everything.
When you talk about, because you briefly touched on the EDI of that production, how do you see that those things have changed or how they've been incorporated? Do you think that there is room for improvement in terms of EDI in the industry? Because we'll talk about the arts education side of it very shortly.
Yeah, I mean, it was a shock even from now to think back to then that, some directors got it. They already knew that you should see certain things. That was a TYA production at the Kennedy Center. So I'm not sure at that time if they were a little more conscious of just wanting to represent. But, you know, there were Latin, Black, white, Asian, everyone was in the cast. You know, it was not specific. And you were able to see that. I think that was a very particular moment. That was special. Soon after that, I had the pleasure of playing Paige next to Jerry Whidden and Antigone with Roundhouse Theater. So to have this little brown Latin Black boy stand next to this guy, this, you know, well-known actor in DC, white guy that, you know, had his credibility, and I got the opportunity to play that and to learn, you know, a deeper sort of experience of artistry aside from what I had done at the Kennedy Center. Roundhouse is a little smaller. So there was a bigger consideration even in that time to like understand, make sure I knew what I was doing, making sure that I was a part of it. I mean, they were the sweetest people in the world. And I've never had issues with EDI in the business. I've never felt excluded. I've never felt overlooked, blessed for that, but I've seen it happen. And even during that time, you know, I can say, hope I'm not saying too much, but the production at the Kennedy Center where I did Winnie the Pooh, all the Christopher Robins weren't really treated the same. I was fine. The Russian kid was fine, but not so much with the African kid, you know? So there were some differences in how we were treated, how we were talked to, what the rehearsal process was, and the differences that we may have gained out of learning from that experiences as young boys, you know what I mean? But all respectful, but I think there were just moments. Those were little tokens. Now, it's a staple. It needs to happen. It has to happen. Voices have been speaking currently for where we are through the pandemic. That gave us a push to get the heck out of the houses and say something and do something. And it wasn't just Black. Everyone came out. So to see the momentum of sprinkles back in the past, some people got it. We're recognizing that now everybody needs to get it. And especially in the creative performing arts, because this is emotion, this is creativity. This is one of the closest ways that we can break into people's hearts and their brains is by presenting creative things that make them think differently, or at least walk away questioning whether we can change your mind or not, but bringing awareness. So EDI is extremely important.
Excellent. So I want to talk about, because you are a teaching artist here for Adventure Theater. So if you haven't registered for classes, come register now. Just put a little plug in there. How has your experiences as a performer and these experiences that you had as a young child, how do they influence and inform your teaching, from what you teach to the style and your approach? How has your experience helped you in that regard as far as being a teaching artist?
So I'm from old school, just like you are. You know, we were not given much mercy. If you want to do this, do this. If you want to succeed in that monologue, learn the monologue. Do your play analysis, do your character analysis. So we weren't really let off the hook. And that is something that I appreciate with the times and sort of where our resources and technology were sitting at that time. You know what I mean? Right now, things are so instant and immediate. You know, you can pull it up digitally. You know, people want things videoed for them and snapshots of this and that. But the days of just getting your script or taking notes and making sure that they're notes that when you leave this 2-hour rehearsal, you go home and you remember what the heck you wrote and you can translate it. So I appreciate the fact that there was more responsibility and ownership of artistry put on us. With that, I take a lot of lessons that I learned from Debbie Allen, that I got from Mike Malone at Howard University, and many, many, many other people, even in Broadway, David Saint, Joey McNeely. You take something, you remember something, especially when you are being checked. I always call it, when you get checked, remember that moment, because it was a learning lesson. And, carrying that to now, where it's a different culture, this younger generation, they need differently, they communicate differently. So you have to find a balance, you know what I mean? It's not always hard, but particularly for our pre-professional program at Adventure Theater, that's a choice that you're making to be a performer. I want to study on that track. I want to be treated that way. I want to be respected. I want to be loved. I want to have fun, because we're still young people. But at the same time, I want that extra push. So I try to bring that still to the times that we're in. Diligence, commitment, do your homework. Musical theater is pretty much a different genre aside from studying concert dance or just music or just acting. Multiple days of the week, the same discipline. Musical theater, most times for young people, we're trying to accommodate home life and schedule. I remember getting home at 11 o'clock at night and then having to fit homework in. Now it's get them out by 6, 7, maybe push to 8. So it was a different weight and expectation. So I think coming from the old school, experiencing the new school, and trying to find a balance of that to be fair and understanding of the world that we live in too, because there's a lot more going on socially and publicly that affects them emotionally, physically, home life, and all of that. So I would say being hard on them, not giving up. That's what I carry through. And that's what has helped me to become a better teaching artist, to find the respect between teacher and student, and to be able to develop programs off of the experience, develop opportunities within the classroom where you think and see people need something differently that they weren't getting. It's just that sort of build off of every moment, you know what I mean? And being smart in the moment too. That just helped, you know what I mean? Because if I wasn't able to really just piggyback off of a bad day of a student versus the best day of a student, I'm a machine. I'm doing a follow me class, but this is training. So I have to consider each individual in this environment, that they're all on a different level. They all have different abilities. And how do I get them to their perfect balance of going out into this world and presenting them as a pre-professional artist and getting them into college for musical theater?
So what do you think is missing from arts education right now? What do you think is going to help to bridge the old school with the new school? What do we need to move forward?
There's a lot going on. A lot of things are being considered, but truth is a big thing. Truth and transparency and honesty, whether that is in content and material that we're teaching and discussing, what we expose them to. They need to see any and everything from everywhere. In this institution alone, I have so many plans to not just focus on musical theater. Yes, that is what we do, but you have to be able to connect it and build the blocks off of the next thing, because it never started with one thing. So we're always able to reference and refer back to the legends and the greats and kind of show them now where we're expanding upon those things. So, to me, it's just always a building block. But I think the biggest thing that's missing, and we're touching on it right now, the times in EDI, acknowledging individuals. I wish this was a world where I didn't have to say what my race was. I didn't have to say I'm mixed, whatever the case may be. We are people. But in a sense, we're actually using that to get to where we're going. And I'm okay with that. But we are definitely missing just honesty. Truth. I think a lot of environments are trying to be humble about it and honest. Like, yeah, we need to work on this. We need to do that. We need to implement this program. We should consider that, but it just becomes that much. Something said, an effort of having a discussion, a conversation. Thanks, but we're beyond that. Action. You know what I mean? Action, not just words. Actions speak louder than words. All that stuff we grew up hearing, it's real. Like, why just say it? And that's what's really important too for me in the arts, is to show the different faces. We can't just say, oh, this person's an executive and they're Black, and this person is Asian, and this person's Latino, but we want to show people so that they want to connect and be comfortable in this awkward, sensitive time where so many people are trying to identify themselves. And that's okay. We're allowing that. We're allowing more labels and more identity and people to say, I am this, I am that, choosing for themselves how they want to be represented. But we're not seeing it. You know what I mean? I think we need to show it more. And therefore, it'll open the floodgates. You know what I mean? Just get it going. You have to be about it, not talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that representation, and I know that a lot of times that phrase gets used as far it's overly used. People think
Absolutely.
it's overly used about representation mattering, but you know, if you see it, you feel like you can be it, you know? And I feel like, you know, we're at a point where arts education, I think it needs the representation of everybody, because
Yes.
when you approach a piece, you're not just going in saying, okay, I'm going to use the Stanislavski method and that's going to apply to the whole script, or I'm going to go in and Uta Hagen's going to get me from page 1 to page 98. That's not how it works. You take all of the techniques that you have learned, all of the influences, you apply this to this moment, you apply that to this moment. You have to use the entire canon to get you through. And that is what I think, that's an area of opportunity that we're in right now, because you speak about, you know, the students coming in and needing to see themselves and be their full self. And how could you possibly ask them to be themselves if we're not offering them multiple options and opportunities to pull from? You know, you have to, in order to be your full self, you have to see yourself in other things. You have to see yourself in, oh, well, I don't fit in that box, but oh, there's this box over here that I might fit into.
You've given them that opportunity to see
Right.
that too.
To see that, oh, you know what? That's not the only way. That is not the only way. We should be teaching, you know, we should be teaching the Black acting method. We should be teaching Hendrix.
I don't even think people know.
They don't.
That.
They don't.
That exists. I don't think they even know.
And it's so interesting. I was having a conversation with a teaching artist just last week, and we were talking about how it's out there, but who knows about it?
I learned everything but that. When I got to experiencing and being called into Howard University, after I pretty much was in that transition of going to design school, and I had a good year here, and I had the pleasure of being scouted in a sense by Mike Malone. He saw that I did a show at Lincoln Theater, Chocolate Nutcracker, I think that was. It was Debbie's production of it. And I mean, he picked me, literally plucked me to say, you're going to play Adam in God's Trombones. And in that experience at Howard, I was like, oh, this is what it's like to be in this environment with your people, discussing the truth about your people, how we came from this, and our art is now speaking of that through this voice. I mean, just so many heavy things that, you know, I was not exposed to. You know, again, I was very lucky to not struggle a bit in sense of identity and being recognized. And I've heard over the times, you know, oh, that's a bit of colorism. You know, you're lighter. It's different. Yeah, I've seen that. I've experienced that. But again, you know, that Howard experience is where I saw there's a Black method. There is a process. There's a vision that we come with that, hence the title of your show, makes you artistically Black. You know what I mean? Our voice speaks so differently when it comes to creativity because of what we carry with us. It echoes, whether it's hip hop and theater and music, the opera singers, scientists, anything creative. It comes from what we come from. We bring it with us. No matter what any of them say, you can never deny the blood that runs through your body and what comes natural. So you're absolutely right about, you know, we're not even exposing what's out there and being fair about that. And honestly, I don't see anybody stopping me. So that's what we're doing, right? We're about to make some moves, you know, and that's a good thing too, that times are different when we can just make things happen. And when you are experts at things and you are assertive and confident and you don't mind stepping up to the plate and presenting material, a lot of times that's what it is too. Because as we transition out of most entities and environments being predominantly white run, they can't teach it. So you got to put us in place. You know what I mean? You have to put those who lived and know it, just like they may have to put themselves in content that we're not familiar with.
Right.
You can't speak our story and we can't speak yours. So be fair about it.
Yeah, I think that is the thing. I think that people often sometimes they think, oh, well, you know, we're not qualified and we don't really know. But have you gone out to find? You got to find those people, even if you just bring them in for a temporary time, that you want to be able to tell the story fully. And in order to tell, and that's not taking away from, and I don't want anyone to think that I can't. That's the key, is that you can learn from everybody. You can learn. I can learn something from Arthur Miller.
Yeah.
That is different from learning from August Wilson. You know what I'm saying? You know, there are different lessons there.
And that's the point. We appreciate that.
And there's a different perspective. And here's the thing, there's a different perspective that you get when you put, I saw Death of a Salesman at Ford's, and there was a Black man who was playing the lead. And that has a different perspective.
It does. I bet it did.
It means something different. And I love that we as a community, and I use we as people of color, have come together to say, hey, we are worthy. We know things. We can do this because we bring ourselves and we bring that different perspective, and we give things a different a way of thinking and viewing because of what we bring with us.
And those are the times where I appreciate the struggle of the past. Because as a people, as a community, you know, we had to have something, I see. And, you know, whether you hold it as a grudge and carry it with you through life, or it's a lesson from the past and you are conscious and you keep it in the back of your head, because truth be told, the world still is what it is, right? And we're still regarded in certain ways, and they're working on it. And I say they, because it's a world thing. It's not me, it's not you. So I can say they're working on it. But yeah, that perspective is, that's interesting. I'm glad you said that. That was good. That kind of stunned me for a second. I'm like, okay, Dannielle.
I mean, you gotta.
That's good. That's perfect.
You can learn. I think that, you know, it's a gift. It's a gift to be a person of color in the arts.
We come with it.
It is a beautiful gift, and I appreciate everything that comes along with being artistically Black, because I know what I'm bringing to the table, and how that is going to influence my performance, and how it influences my interactions with my white counterparts on stage. And I so appreciate that so much. I appreciate, you know, you sharing your story and telling us, you know, what you've gone through and what you see. I want to ask, what do you see as the future of musical theater and at the arts as a whole?
It's making moves. You know, there are great shows, contemporary, modern pieces that are being put out. I think we need to do more. Why has that not happened yet? And that's okay. Timing is everything. But if we look at the past 5, 8, 10 year span, okay, it's time for us. Where are our shows? Where is the rewrite of this or the thought of that? And, you know, giving opportunities to playwrights and directors and choreographers, because that's something you and I discussed actually not too long ago, is where the heck are we? Where are we, people? If you want a job, you need to let us know. Like, you need to make yourself known. You know what I mean? It's just like, why is there an intimidation? Are people still feeling that way? Are we not built up? Are we not confident enough? Because that's part of it too, making sure that we continue to uplift each other so that we do walk into a room and feel confident. I love that about being Black, to walk into a room and know, okay, in this group, I am 220 and everybody else is white. Okay. So you have to represent. They're going to look at you differently anyway. Dance-wise, being concert trained, you know, that was always a benefit. You know, I could always stand out in musical theater because a lot of people in musical theater are not concert trained to that level. Right. But that was one of the benefits, to make you stand out. But at the same time, walking in the room and owning that I'm a Black man and I can twirl and I can sing and act. But I say sing because I tend to be more on the R&B pop side. That's been my thing. Because even when you think about the roles that I've really gotten, playing Richie, Big in West Side Story, things like that. And I never initially had intentions of being a musical theater performer. All of my disciplines were separate. You know, my dad worked with me in music separately. My mom would dance. Acting was different. Getting trained in all the styles of it. It was never brought together, honestly, until 2010, 2011. And that was the first time that I was able to step back and really see, oh, this is really what that world is.
Yeah.
Never did it. But owning who we are, that's something that I have picked up from you, whether you know or not, over the past month and working closer with you, is ownership. And even though I know I naturally do it, and I am that outspoken and that confident person, but at the sort of executive, senior staff level, to also be comfortable with that, it's like, I get that. When you know what you come to the party with, as my dad say, what are you bringing to the party? What are you contributing? You know, other people will see it. When you're not sure, they also see that. It's like smelling fear, right? So I don't believe any of us should walk around with our head down. We have no reason to. Times are different. Speak your mind within respect. You know what I mean? And you shall get the same. Sometimes you don't, but at least you walk away with your dignity. So I think what we are missing, again, going back to the very first question you have, is really continuing to recognize and see identity in the room, in content, in lessons, in development, just all of that. Little girls need to see she has braids like I do. She wears glasses like I do. And she's beautiful. And she runs this institution and she does this and she manages that. And she was a performer. They need to see that. Trust me, you know that. You know, right in DC quadrants, there's so many little girls that are lost, little boys. And I know that's a big thing for us at Adventure, is trying to show them we can help and we want to help from a genuine perspective.
Absolutely.
So having people like you, Golden, me, you know, others, Omar, we have Angela, we have Pauline and Katie and all these people, they need to know that we're here because we all love to do this and we want to be here for them, right?
We love the children. We do it for them. I mean, they make it worthwhile. I mean, I always look and reflect on the end of session showcases and the spotlights and the, you know, even the final sharings of the elementary classes that are, you know, and I always look back and I see where the kids started to where they ended. And it's just like, okay, this is why I do what I do. This is why I am here. This is why I'm committed to making sure that, you know, they have what they need. And you're right. I overall, I want to make sure that every child feels welcome, that every child has what they need, that they can come here regardless of their ability to pay. You know, I want to make sure there's a place, but I especially want to make sure that I am mostly encouraging to those kids that look like me. I'm making a place for them that they see me and say, oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I see where you are. I want to be there. And then when they get I want to say to them, you can get where I am and you can go beyond that. You can go further. You know,
a lot of us are conditioned to think, I can't get that far. Or something in a certain demographic, such as Rockville or Glen Echo. That's not us. Or we don't do classes out there. We can't go out there. Why can't you?
Why can't you come out here? Come here.
I mean? Now, if there are boundaries, you know, barriers that are stopping that, I get that. And that's something we're working on and we're going to acknowledge that. But that is a constant mindset. They either fear the environment, there's intimidation, or they just don't think they are welcomed out here, Montgomery County, or whatever the case may be. No, go get yours. No, this world is open. Go get yours. You know what I mean?
Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
My gosh. I love it. I just, you know, I want to touch on what you were saying about us being in the room. What I want to see, and I mean this, you know, across the board, people of color, is I want to see more of us behind the table. I want to see more of us on the production side of being lighting designers, set designers. I know that they're out there. I want to see them on more of these teams, both here at Adventure, but also at all of the other, you know, theaters in the area, because we're out there, you know, put yourself out there, you know, give us a call, like say, hey, these are the last 5 shows I worked on. you know, the worst thing that anybody could ever say is no. But but the best thing that they could say is, hey, we're working on this. We saw you submitted this. We'd like to work with you. And I think that is something, like you were saying, we're conditioned to kind of fall to the background and feel intimidated, because I had a conversation with someone, and they were like, you know, I feel like as a person of color, sometimes we don't feel like we can ask for what we want. We feel like we have to wait for it to be offered when the table is there. Pull up a chair. If they haven't invited you, invite yourself.
Yes.
Listen, what they can say is, okay, you've made a place for yourself. Okay. And if they don't invite you to table, you know what? Go get some wood and build your own.
That's it. You hit it. You hit it. You're on it. I mean, I know you know. I'm not even shocked.
I think that there is a place for everybody.
Yeah.
I want people to know that here and here as an adventure theater is a place for everybody. It is a place for anyone who is interested in the arts, who wants to train, who wants to be an actor. Like, it is a welcoming place for everyone.
It really is. And I push that in a lot of the coaching, even with artists, and just sort of coaching them and doing consultations, whatever they're working on, or just support, emotional. You know, I realize a lot of us need that. A lot of people are intimidated and just don't think they have it. And I'm like, look at what you're giving me. Look at the videos you're sending back that you're working on stuff. I'm like, you're phenomenal. But they don't feel that, and they don't know that. And why is that the case? You know, how is it that you don't know that? And, you know, coming back to the DC area, I think pretty much right after tour of West Side, I think I did a chorus line, but I made a conscious choice. Okay, I'm going to balance being an architect and this career as a performer. Not realizing, of course, acknowledging my personality and where I was going to end up on the creative side, but that I would end up more on the production side of it. But Samiani, 24, that man has kept me in his pocket forever. He has looked out for me forever. So having people who see something in you and pulling you up, that's always been important to our culture, you know what I mean, and our community. And I don't see why we can't continue to do that and utilize that in this platform. If that's what we have to do, then that's what we have to do, to look out for ourselves. But others will follow track, you know what I mean? But having that opportunity, someone like Psalm, to look out for you, and then others to see it in you and start to evolve. And, you know, because once it goes, it snowballs, like it's going to pick up. But that moment, somebody seeing it and say, yep, you're dope, you're phenomenal, come on, you know, and literally every movement and choreography piece that man has needed, he has called me, you know what I mean? And now it's flipped into opportunity and directing, you know what I mean? It's just, that's what we do need as well. It's just constant mentorship, you know, being there for young ones and being a voice. I love talking to, you know, having the relationship I have with the pre-professional program here, because that's something from the business that you ask, what do I take with me? I realize that works. You must understand that this is sensitive and this is emotional. We are artists. We are sensitive about our work. So with that already being known as adults, it's like the young people are figuring that out. You just have to do it and be there for them. Let them open up, let them talk to you, let them blow up about stuff, so they will feel comfortable in knowing that you wouldn't choose to be an artist if you didn't have it. This is not easy. It is not easy to act and dance and sing, and at the same time be musical theater focused, to put it all together and be a triple threat performer, which is our statement. We are training triple threats. So that alone is intimidating. And then you think about the process of musical theater. It's much more accelerated. You're hitting a discipline a certain night of the week, and you're expected to go home and do your homework and come back better. But then they have all this life. They need support. They need understanding of, I come from this environment, and here are the issues and restrictions and everything that you can imagine before I even get to you. Then we have other students that it may be a breeze. Dropped off by mommy, this and that, whatever. We've had students in the past who've come from dysfunctional environments, dysfunctional communities. And it's like, how do you still give that youngster what they need for this dream that they think will never happen? You have to start with, look at where you are. You're in this space with us. And look at where we're trying to do. The rest is on you. Because we're going to do our job. Do you really want it? And if you really want it, we will continue to support you, fund you, feed you if we have to, Metro pass you if we need to. That's
Mm-hmm.
what matters. And when it comes to young people, I mean, all across the board, I don't see color. I hate it. I see it, but I don't think we should operate with it. So I try to
Yes.
erase it. But especially with young people, they are innocent souls. They are becoming what you expose them to. So just like you're saying, where did I come from in the business? I came from this. I had chairs thrown at me, stuff like that. I would never do that to students. But at the same time, back then you could get away with a lot. Equity wasn't on it like that. But
No.
now, it's just knowing that I'm not going to take anything less from you because I know this is difficult for you to even be here.
Mm-hmm.
Don't waste your time. It's not wasting mine. I've done it. I've gotten there. I'm at a different level, and I want you to have the same path and surpass. It's like a father and a son. He may have gotten to a certain place, but I want my child to pass by me.
Yes.
Like, go do something different. Take our name to the next level. Believe in yourself. So all of those little things matter in education. It's not just coming into a studio and teaching the monologue or teaching the dialect or the notes and harmonies and the steps, but we're personal. We have to be able to relate it to something and connect it. A lot of young people are learning and finding that they want to do certain types of shows. They don't want to just be musical theater. Some people are going into musical theater realizing, oh, no, I just want to be a straight actor. I want to be content. I want to get into characters and develop. All of that's our job. So we're doing a disservice if we don't look at each child individually, have a relationship and a rapport, and just make this home. It has to be home, away from home.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. What advice would you give to the aspiring performer? What is the best advice that you can give them?
Well, now times are a lot different. Things are right in our hands. Resources are different. And in my opinion, there isn't too much holding us back. You can present yourself. You can put yourself out there. You can create a resume on LinkedIn. You can do so many little things. First and foremost, like you're saying, where are we to put yourself out there in presence? Aside from that, you have to be active. A lot of people think, oh, I sing. Well, if you're not technically trained, you might not last long. So understand that training is important, which leads to what we offer. Understanding that relationships are important. Being a humble person, that's important. Everybody has something to work on. There's so many things. And I think a lot of that softness and, what I believe becomes a pure spirit comes with being an artist. So you got to be on your grind. You have to present yourself, make yourself known and available. But overall, you have to have confidence. And I do a lot of coaching and consulting with that. A lot of people don't believe that I can just pick up some steps. I'm going to stretch better. It's so much. Gosh, I don't even know, because I can relate it to young people and then I can also relate it to adults. But specifically speaking for young people, wow, that's interesting, because I'm like, is it for them to do or is it for us? Like, where do we fall in that opportunity or that acknowledgement of how do I make myself the best artist? What do I need to do? We can market the programs, but again, if they see the program and don't think that it's for them, that's what you're talking about. The moment's gone. So it's a two-way thing. I think it's going to be us putting it out there and making ourselves available an opportunity, and also encouraging and just being a part of it, because we can't touch everybody. I probably drove past, I don't know how many young people that I'm like, you have no business on the corner. You have no business on the corner. Get your butt in a rec center, get your butt in a theater somewhere. But if they don't know that that's out there, and I run into so many young people like, yeah, I like music. I've always wanted to do this and that. And they're like, why didn't you?
Why didn't you?
It wasn't in their neighborhood. They don't even have the mindset to Instagram that. I say, did you look that up on Google? Classes in dance. Oh, I love to rap. Okay, there's people who really teach specific genres in music. Like, I'm like, are you thinking? But where they are, they're boxed. They're confined and they're kept back. So they don't even think beyond the quadrant that they live in or the block that they live in. So yeah, it's deep. That's a deep question. I would love to explore that more with you, but It's just like, wow, good question. Like, what can they do nowadays? I mean, it's just
It's
the basics.
limitless.
I mean,
It's limitless. I mean,
it's like you can
the
everything now.
the Google machine knows everything. So,
Like,
it's
like I tell my mom, she'll ask me a question. I say, Google it. Look it up. Don't believe everything on Google, but raise some awareness. You know what I mean? Go look up something. Go research.
Mhm.
Understand what it is that you're looking at and you're reading, because media is controlled. All this social media stuff is not 100% in our control. But, you're right. It's limitless. The opportunities are out there. And the beauty, though, is that we are an environment that we're not turning a child away. And we are
Mhm.
looking at how do we get you here no matter what. Whether we need to
Absolutely.
feed you, not. Thank God we have Food Line and that restaurant and this and everything around us. If it needs to be done, it's going to be done. And I love that
Absolutely.
that's been a lot of our conversation too, is, what can we do better for them? But
Mhm.
the sad part is we can't reach everybody, and
Oh, I want to reach everyone,
we
but
want
I
to reach
can't.
everybody, but we
I
can't.
do. I want to reach everybody, but I think, what? While we want to reach everyone, we need to
Yeah.
reach the people that we can in the process.
True.
Take the step to reach those who are closest to you,
Hmm.
and then keep reaching for everyone else.
And
You know?
continue that ripple effect in a sense,
Mhm.
right? Take that back to your community where other homies and girlfriends don't think that they can fit in. Oh,
Mhm.
yes, you can. I go to Rockville and take classes here with a phenomenal environment, bunch of races and cultures and languages and all that. I love environments like that, and at
Mhm.
the time when, Suitland was what it was in the late 90s, that was beautiful about that type of school that had all types of programs in vocational and performing arts and university high and baccalaureate programs. That's what it felt like, a mix, a salad bowl, a fruit bowl of households and environments. And there was good and bad with it. But, that's what matters, because that fueled me to see a bunch of different faces around, to hear different languages. But they turn around and say, hey, what's up to you in English? But then to
Mhm.
their friend that they got off the bus with, that fuels you, it encourages you. By the time I got to New York, wow, because I was auditioning in New York at 8 years old by myself. Like, I was on a bus, all that stuff. So I had a different environment, it was a different
Mhm.
exposure and a walk, but that fueled me. We take them on trips. We take them to New York. We take them to see professional shows at the level that they see. Of course, Broadway isn't the end and all, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? But regional is phenomenal. Community is phenomenal. Small Black Box Productions is phenomenal. But having a bigger perspective, all of that, what we offer, how far are we willing to go to make them what they want to be, or expose them to the question or
Mhm.
the option? They might not know. And we've had plenty of students who come through the program and they become teachers. That's just as important. Some become athletes that benefit from this. There's always something that you can take from growing up in a creative environment, because I think at the end of the day, we all have that. I don't know too many people who don't like music or can't deal with music. I don't know
Mhm.
too many people who really can't look at a piece of canvas and say, oh, that's nice. I mean, it's just, we all have that. And it
Mhm.
is the one thing I think that can, and I agree, we've been saying it for hundreds of years, artistry is what really, I think, the one thing that can connect us. Vibration,
Absolutely.
movement, creativity, something different, spectacle, all of that. That's worked. All the other craziness has never worked. But music and dance and art and creativity has always worked. And I don't know why we won't hold on to that. Why are they not continuing to rebuild programs and put more money behind it? How dare you cut a program from a
Always the
school?
first thing to go.
I don't get it.
Always. I
I don't.
mean, it's always the first thing to go. It's the thing that I mean, if you really look back on it, it
Yeah,
is the thing that kept us sane
it really
through
did.
the pandemic.
It did.
Art
That's the only thing that happened.
artistry kept us going. You
That was
know,
it. Yeah. And the creativity that came out of it. Because if you can imagine, if this pandemic had happened 10 years ago, the technology and resources were not what they are now,
nope.
even 10 years ago. 8 years ago, when you and I really kicked off here at Adventure Theater, I don't know how this would have gone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it would have gone. I don't even think we
It
had
would be
Zoom and
very
all
different.
that. Like, you know what I
It
mean?
would,
So it's just like we had to all
oof.
be creative. Companies had the mindsets and the initiative to create and develop. Zoom became bigger than what it was. Hangouts had to figure it out. All of these things had to say, okay, everybody's at home online, and all of this stuff in the economy and businesses and needs has to continue. DMV has to keep going. Hospitals have to keep going. Medication and prescriptions. All of that was creative. From generating a computer program to what you see on the website when you log in, to performances online. Every single thing that I did in the pandemic was filmed and had to be switched around from that theatrical stage perspective to how do I see it through the eye of the camera, and still keeping the theatrical respect to the content and the writers and the playwright and composers. You know what I mean? But it's endless. Wow. We can go for hours.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting because when you talk about, changing that perspective to, okay, I'm on this stage and I can be big and I can have all of these emotions, to now I'm stuck at this box, and how do I change, and how do I keep the same energy but bring it down?
It's down. You don't need all that. And that's why I'm excited that we're looking to incorporate more TV and film training, because that is where we're going. I think
that is where we're going.
Showed us, because if you're a smart entity, you will continue to do your live theater, and you will also have other things on film rolling out. If you're not, I think at this point you are completely wasting time, and you really didn't learn anything from that pandemic. That is more content, that is revenue, that is every great thing that an executive and business person wants to hear is going like this, building up and bringing in the coins. But beyond that, we're respectful in understanding that it gives you opportunity. It acknowledges different types of performers. Some people that are TV and film performers can now step a little bit on the theater side and then also do some of that work. It mixes us up a bit more, and it brings arts and entertainment together as a whole to get it out as a whole. I don't think that I see a clear division anymore. They're taking some chances. Everything I did was a film, and it was phenomenal, but just to know that, there are a lot of directors and producers that aren't comfortable with it. So the newer generation, us, those coming behind us, we're bold. We're not afraid of it because we saw some of that in our time coming up. Those who are a little settled in it, like, no, I'm not a film director. I'm like, it's not about that.
It's not about that.
Really not. What do you see? You always have to start with that as a director. What are you trying to say? What's the vision? All of that. Keep that. We'll work out how we capture it. And then also teaching the actors, like you said, to balance, because I don't have to be as big. You know what I mean? This gesture in theater becomes this gesture on camera.
Yes.
Totally different. If we need that, we'll do a wide shot. But I don't need that.
Right. I don't always
the intensity of how I speak, or the intensity of how I speak.
Right.
It's all a technique. So I appreciate that's where we are now, and it gives us more to play with. And also giving the youngsters an opportunity to create. That was fun during the pandemic. We were able to write our own little things, little skits and little video projects, and, having them to display what it's like to be home and in the quarantine and doing homework and having our schedule and then having homework schedule. And then mommy and daddy still want you to be active somehow, and giving that lifestyle. That gave them a chance to be writers. You know what I mean? It gave them a chance to be visionaries for themselves. And that's what got them through the pandemic a bit, is having creativity go to another level and not be stale and thrown on a Zoom camera. But okay, I'm tired, you're tired, this boring, I know it's boring for you. What can I do to make this better for you?
Yeah.
Hands go up. Can we write our own scripts? Can I write a song? Sure. The most phenomenal work came out of it because they are creative and they want to be heard. That's where we are now. Little ones, young ones want to be heard. They're not really looking at themselves as sort of this adult to adolescent teenage thing. They're like, we're people in the world now. We're being taught that we all have something to say. And because we all have the same resources, nobody can stop me from voicing my opinion. Don't talk about it, be about it.
That's
right. Speak up.
Woo! Snaps for that. Don't talk about it, be about it. That feels like a natural place to stop, because we could go on for a very long time, and we'll have to have you back on to continue this conversation, because I want to dive deeper into this conversation about arts education and where we're going, and
I would love to.
What we think the barriers are, and what are, as I always like to say, what are the solutions? Bring me solutions. So I want to stop, because we can keep going, but the tape is going to run out eventually. So, but thank you, Mr. Tony Thomas. Thank you so much for being here on this episode of Artistically Black. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And I hope we will continue this conversation offline, but you know, we'll have to have you back and we will keep talking. So I just want to let our audience know we will be with you every second Sunday of the month. If you are looking for classes to register your child, conservatory classes are open for registration at this time. The semester starts September 19th. So we hope to see you. It's an a la carte menu. Come take as many classes as you want, or just take one class. We would love to have you here every day of the week, though. So, you know, check it out. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. You can call me. You can Facebook message us. We will get you the answers that you need. Also, if you find it in your heart to donate to Adventure Theater, you can donate to us. Any donation amount is welcomed and appreciated. You can visit us at atmtc.org to donate today. Thank you, Mr. Tony, for joining me today. And stay artistically Black, everyone. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.